Hey loves! So, I've recently discovered just how many nasty, potentially toxic, and hazardous ingredients are used in period pads. I decided to try out 6 different brands of pads that claim to be organic and non-toxic and safe and healthy, and we're gonna put them to the test. That way, you and me will know which pads are healthy, safe to use, and actually work. Here are the 6 brands we're gonna be trying out. We have August, Rael, Flo, Organyc with a Y, Eco by Naty, and we have Cotton's Organic. So I tested all of these real time on my period, and then I also did an experimental flow test just using water and red watercolor paint. So let's just get into it. First up, we're trying the August pads, and this is a box that has the super and the regular pads, and a box of 16 pads costs $8.99, so that's about 56 cents per pad. These have a 100% certified organic cotton top sheet, a chlorine-free natural wood pulp and super absorbent polymer core, and a plant-based PLA back sheet. So, something important to note about these. These pads use chlorine-free natural wood pulp, which is what you want to see. I did some research for this, and wood pulp is totally fine to use in period products, but it really depends on how that wood pulp is processed, especially when it comes to bleaching. So the safest option is wood pulp that is chlorine-free and sustainably sourced, because it's the chlorine bleaching that can leave behind the nasty stuff like dioxins. So these are good. They're using chlorine-free natural wood pulp. But a not so great ingredient in these pads are super absorbent polymers. Super absorbent polymers are ingredients used in pads and also in diapers. It's the material that absorbs liquid. It like turns into a gel as it absorbs liquid. So it really does help to keep you dry and to prevent leaks. But it is made from plastic synthetic materials that don't break down in the environment. And while they are generally considered safe to use, some people do worry about potential skin irritation, or they're linked to concerning effects of microplastics on human health. But still, these are a much better option compared to conventional pads. So let's put them to the test. I'm gonna go with the super one because I'm on day 2 of my period. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Yeah, let's just put her in and see how it goes. This is what it fully looks like. It feels very soft and very comfortable. So it is currently 2:27. Let's see how long this pad lasts. It is now 5:35 p.m. Probably an hour or so after I put this pad in, I somehow leaked out of the back of my underwear. You know when that happens and you're like, how did that even happen? And there's like no trail indicating it's just in one place way in the back. Like it just doesn't even make sense. So I don't even know if I should blame the pad or like I was laying down. I literally don't know how it happened. This is my gripe. They don't absorb deep enough into the pad. I feel like the period blood kind of sits at the top, even though like it has way more of a capacity to absorb, if that makes sense. So like right now, for example, I could probably like wear this pad for another hour, but like it's uncomfortable because the top is damp, and it's kind of felt like that for the past hour at least. Like it probably felt comfortably dry for maybe like an hour. And then like the rest of the time, so another 2 hours, it hasn't been like so comfortable. Like I feel that top layer is damp. Okay, so when it comes to the flow test, I just want to take a quick note just to say this isn't the greatest of tests because we don't really have our controls in place like in a science experiment. It's not the same exact amount of liquid going into each pad. It's not going in at the same timing. It's not being poured from the same height each time. So it's not the greatest of experiments, if I'm being completely honest, but it gives us some idea. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so my takeaway of the August pads, not very impressed, to be completely honest. The super pad did not hold up very well on a heavier day of my period. It didn't do well with distributing the period blood, and it didn't lock the moisture deep into the pad, so it just was uncomfortable really quickly. Like damp. The regular size pad didn't do great in the Flo test, but I will say that the regular size pad did do just fine on a light day of my period. So I wouldn't be getting these for a moderate or heavy flow. Even the super sized pad, it just didn't feel very good to me personally. I would only use these on light days. Let's move on to the next one. Next we have Rael. A box of 12 overnight pads costs $7.99, so 67 cents per pad, and then a box of 16 regular pads also costs $7.99, so 50 cents per pad. And these have a 100% certified organic cotton top sheet, an elemental chlorine-free natural wood pulp core with super absorbent polymers, and a waterproof backing using polyethylene and polypropylene. Something to note, interestingly. So on their website, it says chlorine-free natural wood pulp, but on the physical packaging, it says elemental chlorine-free natural wood pulp. So I don't know why that's inconsistent between the website and the physical packaging. Being 100% chlorine-free and elemental chlorine-free mean two different things. Well, let me read to you what this means. Elemental chlorine-free means that the bleaching process does not use elemental chlorine gas, but uses a chlorine derivative, most commonly chlorine dioxide, instead. This method significantly reduces the formation of dioxins compared to traditional chlorine gas bleaching, though it doesn't eliminate them entirely. Elemental chlorine-free is a step toward greener processing, but totally chlorine-free methods are considered the most environmentally friendly as they use no chlorine compounds at all. And then we again see the super absorbent polymers, which isn't great. Also, take a look at this label right here. It says organic blended content standard. And then underneath it says this product contains 7% of organically grown cotton. So the top sheet may be 100% organic, but the entire pad is only made up of 7% organic fibers. So these are organic cotton cover pads, but not truly fully organic pads. And then there is the polyethylene and the polypropylene, which are plastics that are used as the waterproof backing, and they do work really well, but they're not biodegradable, and they can potentially cause discomfort and irritation. I think they kind of trap heat and moisture, but the polyethylene, polypropylene are in the layers furthest away from the skin, from what I can tell. So that's good. But again, even with all this being said, these are still better than the conventional pads. So let's put them to the test. All right, it is now 11:04 p.m. Ooh, she is long. This has a different feel than the August pads. It feels more, I'm gonna say porous. It feels like maybe there's a chance that it'll have more of that distribution of period blood that I'm hoping for. First impression, soft, comfortable. It is quite long, but it doesn't feel too diapery at all. It is 9:23 a.m. and I am so happy to announce that I had no leaks. And you know what I'm even happier to announce? That there was some proper period blood distribution in this pad. I'm gonna change into this Rael. I still don't know how to say this name. Rael. We're going with Rael. Now let's use this regular Rael Pad. I tested the Rael overnight, which looks like this. I'm gonna use just the regular pad for this example, since all of these other ones are just regular sized. But it's the same material as the overnight. Okay, so my takeaway on the Rael pads, they held up very well, both testing them during my period and also in the Flo test that I did. So I don't really have any complaints on like how well they work. I feel like they work really well, but the ingredients are kind of misleading, I feel like, when they're labeling it as like an organic option. Again, it's still much better ingredients than conventional pads, but it's not the ultimate healthy pad that we're looking for. I think it's still a really good option though, and they work really well. Let's move on now to the next one, which is Flo. So a box of 16 ultra thin pads cost $7.99, so that's 50 cents per pad. These have a top sheet of viscose from organically grown bamboo and corn fiber, an absorbent layer of responsibly sourced plant cellulose with polypropylene and polyethylene, an absorbent core of responsibly sourced plant cellulose and superabsorbent polymer, and a back sheet of plant-based corn-derived polylactic acid. So again, we have the use of polypropylene and polyethylene, which isn't great, and they're used in a layer closer to your skin than how it's used in the Rael pads, and these also use those super absorbent polymers, which again aren't great. But still, like the other ones, they're a much better option than conventional pads. So let's give them a try and see how well they work. They're so cute. I feel like this has an even softer feeling than the other ones. Okay, first impression, it feels very, truly does. It says silky soft plant powered protection. It does feel silky, like it feels like silky soft. It's currently 6:40 p.m. and I'll have this pad in until I get into the shower tonight. It is later now, it's 11:12 and I'm all showered. My flow is really starting to slow down now. I like these. My takeaway for the Flo pads, they held up very well on a light day of my period. They also held up quite well in the flow test, but they didn't have very good liquid distribution. So that makes me think that they probably wouldn't do great on a heavier day of your period, but for a light day, they work just fine. Let's move on to the next one, which is the Organyc with a Y brand. A box of 10 moderate flow pads costs $7.76, so that's 78 cents per pad, making these the most expensive pad that I'm testing. But it might be worth it because these totally win when it comes to the ingredients. It has a 100% organic cotton cover and a 100% organic cotton absorbent core, and a back cover using a biodegradable polymer made from cornstarch, and the adhesive on the back and the wings is a hygiene-specific adhesive. And they are 100% biodegradable, both product and packaging. So from what I can tell, there are no concerning ingredients in these pads. But let's see how well they actually work. I showered and then I put in this pad from the brand Organyc with a Y. So I'm already currently using this one and I've probably had it in now for like maybe close to an hour. It's doing good so far. Again, my flow is really light right now. This is what they look like. Very soft. It has kind of that porous material. It's not just completely smooth, which I think that material I'm noticing helps with distributing the period blood. I think that's an observation I'm making. Good morning, everyone. It's now 10 o'clock. I slept in today. These pads did just fine through the night. Granted, my flow has slowed way down. This tends to happen like in the second half of my period at night. They absorbed what I did bleed. Okay, my takeaway for the Organyc with a Y pads in the moderate flow version. I tested these on a light flow day of my period. They held up very well and they felt like they could have absorbed way more. But in the flow test, these didn't seem to do great in their quickness of absorbing, but they did seem to have really good liquid period blood distribution, which I think is a really good sign. Let's keep going. We have 2 more left. Next is Eco by Naty. These are a Swedish brand. A pack of 14 normal flow pads costs $4.89, so 35 cents per pad, making these the cheapest pads out of the ones we've tested so far. And then when it comes to the ingredient list, it's a little difficult to know exactly what is in these pads because each layer just says compostable ASTM D6400, which I guess means that each layer of the pad meets a standard for industrial compostability. So that's cool, but it makes it a little bit unclear. They do state that they have a 100% certified organic cotton top layer and that they're made with 100% compostable certified raw materials, including the individual wrapping and the packaging. And then from what I could see online, they use biodegradable wood pulp sourced from responsibly managed Scandinavian forests. And then the leakage barrier utilizes a cornstarch-based film free from GMOs. The adhesive uses some different safe and approved adhesives. So yeah, I think it's a little bit weird that they're not telling us exactly what the ingredients are on the packaging, but from what I can tell, these I think are second best when it comes to ingredients. So let's give them a try and see if they compost as I wear them. I kind of think these don't have wings, I'm realizing. This one feels quite stiff compared to the other ones. I mean, it's soft, it's comfortable. It definitely is like less malleable or like bendy, but it's not bad. It's just not quite as seamlessly comfortable as all the others. It is now 3:06 p.m. and these have been doing quite well. I like these. They're comfortable, they absorb well. Okay, so my takeaway for the Eco by Naty normal Flo pads is I'm pretty impressed. They held up very well on a light day of my period, and they actually were very impressive in the flow test. I will say that these pads are a little bit stiff, not really in an uncomfortable way, I just notice it compared to all the other pads. And this flow level, the normal flow level, doesn't have wings, and I prefer wings. Just something to consider, but generally I thought these were good. And now moving on to the last pad that we're testing, these are the Cotton's Organyc ultra thin pads. So a pack of 14 ultra thin pads costs $4.80, so 34 cents per pad. And that makes these ones the new winner for cheapest pad of the ones we're testing. These pads have a 100% organic top layer, an air layered absorbing core, and a super absorbent polymer back sheet. Okay, so when I first read air layered absorbing core, I was like, what the heck is this? So I did a little research and I found that it is a fabric-like material used in things like pads, and it's made by blowing wood pulp fibers into a fluffy layer using air instead of water, like in normal paper, I guess. Sometimes they also mix in super absorbent polymers though to soak up even more liquid. So we don't know for sure if that wood pulp is chlorine free or not. They do say these pads are free from chlorine bleach though, so hopefully they are. And we also don't know for sure that there aren't super absorbent polymers in the core layer of the pad and not just in the bottom sheet. So these again are much better than conventional pads, but they're not perfect. But let's put them to the test. And that's what it looks like. All of them are looking exactly the same to me at this point. These are like very thin, comfortable, smooth, soft. These ones are really nice and thin. It is 8:50 p.m. and this pad, great for a light flow. Stayed in place, absorbed well, and didn't feel wet. Okay, my takeaway on the Cotton's Organyc pads, these did just fine for a light flow, nothing to complain about. They didn't do great in the flow test though for quickness of absorption or distribution of period blood or water with red paint in it. So I don't know how well these would do with a heavier flow, at least in this absorbency level. Okay, it's time for the final rankings. After all of this trial, who wins? Okay, here's like the ultimate comparison of each of them. Obviously this isn't 100% like accurate in that like I didn't have the exact amount of liquid poured on each one, so it's not a completely controlled experiment. Also, it's not period blood, it's water with watercolor paint mixed into it, so that also makes it different, but it just gives us somewhat of an idea. So this is the August pad, which I found didn't distribute the blood very well. It looks alright in this experiment, but I didn't feel like it distributed very well in my experience of actually wearing it. The material feels kind of different from the others. The other ones have more of like a webbed material like this, or this, or this. Whereas this one, and honestly the Flo brand, both have this, it's very soft, but it's not super porous. And I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't know, let me know how you like August pads, because maybe it's just me. Then the Rael pads, I poured so much on here, and they clearly like truly lock it in to place. And again, this material is quite like porous, I guess is how I would describe it. Okay, next we have the Flo Pad. You can tell they're like, have a bit of a different material, but they're really comfortable. They did pretty well. Then this brand I was really impressed with, and the ingredients are like ultimate clean ingredients. It doesn't necessarily have a reinforcement like Rael, but the wings, if you can compare the wings on all these, the wings are the largest, and the border is, I'm pretty sure, the widest out of all of these. And then you can really see this material. It's very, again, like that porous kind of materials. If you look at like distribution, this one does really well. Rael does really well. This one is the Naty brand, and I was impressed with this one, especially since it doesn't have wings. It does a good job of locking it into place and distributing it pretty well. And then finally we have the Cotton's Organic one. This one also has kind of like that webbed material. So that's just an overview. I feel like I need a tier list right now. This could have been a tier list video. Okay, we're gonna do a couple different rankings of these. The first ranking is ingredients, best to worst. So we have Organyc with a Y with the cleanest ingredients. Eco by Naty comes in second. Third is Cotton's Organic. Fourth is August. Fifth is Flo. And sixth is Rael. Okay, now if we're ranking by price from cheapest to most expensive, we have Cotton's Organic coming in at the cheapest, Eco by Naty second cheapest, and then Flo and Rael are actually about the same price. And then we have August and we have Organyc with a Y. Okay, now we're ranking by my personal experience of my favorite to my least favorite. So my favorite is Organyc with a Y, and then Rael, and then Flo, Eco by Naty, and Cotton's Organic are all kind of clumped together, and then August came in last for me. Okay, now the ultimate winner out of the 6 brands I tried is Organyc with a Y. I just feel like these have to be the winner because we're looking for the cleanest option, and these worked really well in my actual experience of using them on my period. I am excited to try these on a heavier flow day, and I also have the next level up in absorbency, so I'll update you guys once I use them on a heavier day. And even though they didn't seem to do great in the flow test with quickness of absorbency, they did do really well with distributing the period blood, or in the flow test it was water with paint in it, but it gives me high hopes that it would do pretty well with a heavier flow. We'll continue putting them to the test. Like I said, it's kind of hard testing everything out in one period, but I still felt like, you know what, I can make this video now rather than dragging it out over multiple periods testing them, because I feel like I have a good idea of all of them, and can give you guys a good idea of what the materials are like, what the ingredients are, what the pads look like, feel like. So I still think that this gives a really good idea. But these are the ultimate winner. And then if you want a very clean ingredient pad but don't want to spend as much money, then the Eco by Naty one's very good option. Like I said throughout the video, I think that all of these pads are a much better option than conventional pads like Always pads or Kotex pads, at least when it comes to ingredients. I know those pads can do really well with absorbing and all that stuff. I think that they can work very well. But if you're concerned about the ingredients, which I think that we have, you know, a right to be concerned about what is in the materials of products that we're wearing right up against our skin, yeah, then test out any of these, but maybe these ones are the first ones you should try. But I will put links to all of these in the description box down below, so take a look at the description box for links to check these out. None of this is sponsored, by the way. I bought all of these pads. This is 100% my own experience and opinion. And with that too, everyone's experience is going to be different depending on your heaviness of flow, your general preferences, and also like which level of absorbency you're getting these products in. So the ultimate test is for you to test them out for yourself. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of some good options, maybe some different brands that you've never even heard of. So I really hope that this was helpful, and let me know in the comments if there's any other natural pads that you want me to try. I'll continue to test out these products too, and I'll let you guys know if there's any updates to my feelings about these different pads. So subscribe and stick around, and give this video a like and share it with someone who you think should switch to natural pads. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, loves!